Those are basically the important characteristic of effective performance appraisal system. In this section, we are going to continue our discussion on important aspects when we want to design performance appraisal system. Okay, as a human resource personnel or IO psychologist, we need to consider three important factors when designing performance appraisal system. Those are: one, what should be measured. Okay, when you want to design a performance appraisal system, first and foremost, we need to consider what are the aspects, what are the focus criteria that we want to measure in our performance appraisal system. Secondly, what types of rating we should use. Okay, when we already decide criteria that we want to focus on, what to measure, then we need to decide on ratings that we want to use while evaluating employees' performance. And lastly, who should be the evaluator? In other words, who should be the rater of the performance appraisal? The first one, what should be measured? Okay, if we have to design a performance appraisal system, we can consider one of these three. First, we can focus on the personality traits, which we call as trait appraisal. Second, we can focus on the behavioral appraisal, okay, the behavior that are demonstrated by our employees. Or third, we can focus on the outcome or the results of our employees' behavior or our employees' job. Okay, the first one, trait appraisal. Okay, in this focus, we can look at our employees' personality traits, okay, such as honesty, okay, such as friendliness, such as empathy. Okay, we evaluate these characteristics of our employees in their performance appraisal. Okay, you might find it why we need to focus on those aspects, because it's very difficult to measure. Yes, in this part it's quite subjective. Why? Because we are using our own personal evaluations to look at the manifestation of our employees' personality traits. But bear in mind, some job profession does requires some aspect of personality traits. Okay, teachers, for example, nurses, for example, they need to demonstrate empathy. They need to have some elements of friendliness when they talk to the patient. Okay, second aspect, behavior appraisals. Okay, in this aspect, we look at the frequency of how many times our employees demonstrate certain behavior. It could be positive, it could be negative. Okay, the negative one is simple. Okay, absenteeisms. How many times the person absents from work? Presenteeisms. Okay, like we discussed in the class, absenteeism and presenteeism is related but different. Presenteeism means that they come to work, but sometimes they are missing. Okay, so how many times, how many hours, okay, they are missing from work. Okay, we can look at the counterproductive work behavior. The positive aspect, the positive behavior, we look at how many times, how fast, how quick the employees go and greet customers. Okay, how many times the employees try to help the customer, for example. And the third one, outcome appraisal. So what is outcome appraisals? This is basically we measure the quantitative aspects of the job scope, okay, of the tasks and duties. Okay, for example, how many new customers that the employees managed to bring in, okay, the figures, okay, the market figures, how many new resources, how many investments that the person managed to secure, okay, how many sales, okay, we look in terms of monetary figure, okay, how many thousands, okay, 100,000s, 200,000s that our customer managed to sell, for example. So these is examples of outcome appraisal. So the first consideration when we want to design performance appraisal system, we need to consider what should be measured. Okay, we can choose trait appraisal, we can choose behavioral appraisal, or we can choose outcome appraisal. Okay, after deciding what should be measured, next we need to consider what type of rating that we want to use. Okay, depending the suitability and applicability of what should be measured, behavior, traits or outcome, we need to specifically choose what are the suitable ratings for those types of for those type of performance appraisal focus. Okay, in this part, there are two categories of rating: absolute rating or relative rating. Okay, for absolute ratings, we focus on the behavior of the person itself without comparing to others. Okay, we evaluate based on the value and performance of the person itself. In this category, we can choose whether to use graphic rating scales or to use behaviorally anchored rating scales or to use behavioral observation scales, or even we can use essay appraisal form. Okay, in this part, I am going to show you example one by one. On the other hand, we can even use relative appraisals. What relative appraisal means here is appraisal that we compare to other employees. We evaluate the performance of an employee in comparisons to other employees. So we have two types of appraisal ratings here. First, straight ranking, very suitable if we want to give awards. Okay, best employee awards of the month, best employee awards of the year, for example. So how this is being done? Straight ranking. We compare or we rank all our employees. If we have 10 employees in our unit, so we will rank who is number first, who is second, who is third, until who is last. So it's very straightforward and simple to use. On the other hand, forced distribution, we can basically apply the concepts of B40, M40 or T20 here. Okay, out of the 10s who are in the top 20, out of 100 employees who are in the top 30, who are in the bottom 20, for example. So we falsely distribute our employees into top performer, low performer, or average performer. Let's look at one by one. Okay, this is an example of graphic rating scales. So it's widely used and it can be used in many forms. Okay, for example, we can evaluate our employees based on the expectation, whether they are meeting expectation, below expectations, or above expectation. In this case, what we are expecting is meeting expectation or even above expectation. If they are below expectations, means that they are receiving a lower score, which we are entitled to provide trainings, or they are not entitled to receive some kind of awards. Okay, seconds overall performance of the employees, we can use ratings sort of Likert scale: exceptional, highly successful, inconsistent, or even unsatisfactory. Okay, another forms of graphic rating scales is outstanding, good, needs improvement, or not applicable. Examples of behaviorally anchored rating scales, or the short form as BARS. I do really prefer this kind of scale because it does provide a very concrete conceptual definition of each evaluation. For example, in this 5 evaluation, okay, 5 scoring, very high performance means that the instructor learns every student names and something personal about them, okay, with the rest. So means that every scoring are anchored, are tied to a very specific behavior of the persons under evaluation, okay, the person that we want to evaluate. This is example for teachers or lecturers. These are examples of behavioral observation skills. So remember, we have behavior appraisals where we look at the occurrence or frequency of targeted behavior of our employees. Okay, here we can have the ratings as never, seldom, sometimes, usually, or always. Okay, so these are basically the ratings that we are going to evaluate. Okay, the questions is basically the behavior itself. Okay, what are not very common, okay, in our practice is essay appraisal form. Okay, why some people cannot make sense? Why do we need to write an essay? Why do we need to elaborate the performance of our employees? Bear in mind, performance appraisal is not only about giving awards. It's not only about evaluating their performance, but also about development, okay, about training, about finding opportunities, okay, opportunities for individual and organizational improvement. So asset appraisal form is a very good medium, okay, very good methods for supervisor, for managers, for superiors to elaborate, okay, the performance of their subordinates or the performance of their persons that they are in charge. Okay, so we can use this example of essay appraisal form. Okay, like I said, the other two relative appraisals are ranking and force distribution, whereby as evaluator or as a human resource personnel or as a IO psychologist, we will rank, okay, all of our employees, okay, who come first, who come second, who come third. Okay, or we can force them to be, we can distribute them into top 20 or top performer 20%, okay, low performer 20%, and the rest we can consider as average performer. Okay, after deciding what should be rated, okay, what should be evaluated, after consider what rating should be used, the last part is we need to consider who should be the rater. Who should be the evaluator? Okay, this is the third consideration when we want to design performance appraisal systems. Okay, please don't take for granted that every evaluation need to be done by the human resource personnel, or every evaluations need to be done by the superior, by you yourself, right? By the manager, by the director. Not necessarily so. Okay, so in this part, I'm going to discuss that actually all people, all parties involved in the tasks that are being performed by our employees have the opportunity to evaluate the performance of that employees, okay, the performance of that candidates. Okay, for example, the most common one, we will ask the manager, who are overseeing the completions, okay, the implementation, the enforcement, the tasks that are being carried out by the person that we are evaluating, the managers. Okay, but at the same time, we can also ask peers. Peers here means that people who are holding the same position as the person under evaluation. Okay, people with the same ranking, people who are the same job scopes, okay, they can also provide evaluation, as well as customers. Very rare in our industry or in our country to use customers evaluation. But bear in mind, as a teacher, as a lecturer, we have been practicing this for quite a long time. Okay, whenever you want to renew contract, okay, you look for the student satisfaction survey, for example, or student feedback survey. So these students here can also be considered as customers. Why? Because they are the one who receive the service. In other words, they are the one who receive the teaching service, the supervisory service of the teachers or of the lecturers. So customer can also provide feedback. Next, subordinates. Okay, it's very rare to find that we can be evaluated by our own subordinates, okay, people who are under our purview. But bear in mind, they observe, okay, they receive first-hand experience of our own capability and performance. So they can also provide feedback and provide evaluation. And next is self-appraisal. Also very rare to happen here. Actually, we can have a very good comparisons and very good point and information for personal improvement, okay, for career development, opportunity for developments when we compare our own evaluation of our own performance and how people see our performance. So there we can identify opportunities for us to improve. So we can evaluate our own self. And lastly, 360 feedback. What it means is the combination of all. If we take for consideration evaluation of managers, evaluations of peers, evaluation of customers, and our own evaluation of subordinates, and our own self-evaluations. Combination of all of these, we can use 360 appraisal system or 360 feedback.